Tips to improve your character and your life in Path of Exile 2. Everything from easy upgrades and hidden quality of life features to weapon mechanics that give you deeper customization of your moveset. I'm Alex, I'm currently sick right now, but I do love a good exiled path, so let's see where this one leads. Okay, this first one is a really easy way to improve the core stats of your gear that I see a lot of new players entirely missing. You just have to have made it far enough in Act 1 to unlock the salvage bench. Once you have that, or actually even before, start picking up and saving in your stash any loot drops you find that list quality right here. Yes, this trick I'm about to explain even makes it worthwhile to sift through all those white items you've just been leaving littered all over the ground. Even low-tier white items can be highly valuable to your progression if you bring home the ones that have that quality descriptor. It's also useful to buy any equipment from vendors with quality listed on them, and you can just type in quality in the search bar to automatically highlight the ones that do. Now take any of that quality junk you're not going to use and crunch it at the salvage bench. That'll spit out upgrade items you can immediately apply to either your armor or weapons, which are an easy flat-out increase to the core stats of your character's gear. You can raise your equipment's quality multiple times by doing this, and by default it goes up to plus 20% improved numberage. If you're stuck on a boss, you can try to focus on finding those quality items that have dropped, or you can check the vendors you have access to grab their stock of quality gear. Turning those directly into increased stats for yourself is a simple way to chip away at the difficulty. Also, keep in mind that every vendor in every town refreshes their stock of items after each time your character levels up. Later in the game, it's useful to jump around and check every vendor for quality items when you're trying to max out every piece of your build in PoE 2. Whenever I hear the word PoE, my brain immediately goes to capturing the little things in Ocarina of Time. Anybody else? Next, sometimes you're like, is this weapon actually better, or is this one? This one? This one? Well, if you open the skills tab when you're doing this, it actually lists a rough estimate of the DPS calculation for your basic attack and every ability. Swap those weapons back and forth and watch the DPS number for a simplified answer to that question. There's also extra options for each skill that I see a lot of people missing. On any skill, you can actually click this tiny arrow, this tiny thing right here, to open a somewhat hidden sub-menu. You'll find in here an option to force to stand in place when you're using that attack, or choose to fire it with just weapon set 1 or weapon set 2. When toggling back and forth between weapon sets per ability, watch your DPS number on the side. You might get more damage output out of certain skills if you force it to use one weapon over another. On controller, you can get to that submenu by selecting a skill, then going to Skill Options. There you go, there it is. Here I actually wanted my perfect strike skill to use my slower but higher damaging two-handed weapon for it. So I set that skill to only be used with weapon set 2 and set all of my other skills to use my faster weapon set 1. If you do these changes, the game will automatically swap to the corresponding weapon you set instead of whichever one you're currently wielding, and you never have to manually hit the swap weapon button yourself. This lets you create a deeper customized moveset for your character that seamlessly flows between two equipped weapons at the press of a button. I'm hopped up on cold medicine to get this done. Next, when you unlock your first weapon set passive skill point, notice that in the skill tree, you can select to distribute points in just weapon set 1 or weapon set 2. You can use this feature to branch off in one path with one weapon set and an entirely different path with your second weapon set. Like here, for example, I wanted this 25% increased defense for my shield, but I only needed to skill up in that direction with weapon set 1 that has a shield. That way I can repurpose those extra points for something more useful to my two-handed weapon in set 2. You can only branch off a few extra nodes from the main artery path at first, but as you progress through the game, you'll be able to branch off more in separate directions. Okay, now similar to the first tip about seeking out quality items, also keep an eye out for drops, yes, even white drops, with this little symbol next to them, indicating they have a socket slot. Use the salvage bench on anything with a socket, and it'll give you a material that lets you add your own sockets to your own gear after you've accumulated 10 of the things. You can also use gold to purposely buy cheap socketed items to then salvage and put towards adding sockets to your favorite equipment. Next, your health potion, mana potion, and charms will earn back charges after you kill enough enemies. A higher rank enemy like this yellow guy will refill more than a low tier guy. Taking down something even larger with a legit boss bar will refill even more. So when you find a lot of the bosses have phases with little swarms of minions coming after you, hey, it's actually an opportunity put in place so you can earn back your health and mana. Also, passing by a checkpoint or activating a waypoint will instantly refill all of your resources, so then you won't have to travel back to town to use the well quite as much. Next, when you pop a support skill gem, it's actually only showing you the dev's recommended upgrade options. Hit all gems at the bottom of this tab to reveal every possible support gem. You can also toggle between sorting just intelligence, dex, or strength-based gems. Just make sure the one that you're getting is compatible with the ability type you're planning to use, and that you meet its attribute requirements. I actually took off this magnified support gem that was recommended for one ability and slapped it on my totem instead, which increased its overall area of effect, which was not recommended. When you remove a support gem, you can toggle over it to see every other skill it's compatible with. Now, some players might prefer 0 health bars all over the screen, and some might prefer to see health bars all over above each enemy. Go into the options, interface, then show mini life bar above NPCs, and select enemies only, save. Now you'll be able to easily see which enemies around you are nearest to death, if that's something you want. Another thing interface focused, if you hold Alt, you can select highlighted keywords on gear to learn what they actually mean. But also, you'll find this tiny pin symbol in the corner. That lets you pin items to the UI itself. Maybe you're live streaming or something and the chat keeps asking you what that last item actually was. Well, just pin that item on the screen and continue playing. On controller, I couldn't find a way to pin items in the same way, but let's be honest, it's more of a PC gamer thing to cover your screen in tons of unnecessary stats. Oh, there I am. Controller users, I got something just for you though. If you're not into bringing up this full screen menu each time, you can actually go into the options, select interface panel mode, and set it to either right or left. That changes your menu to be the smaller, more seamless version, and it even has this adorable micro version of the ridiculously sized skill tree. Do you want to link an item in chat on PC? Well, hold Alt, Control, and then click the item to put it down in the chat bar. On controller, hold square on PlayStation or X on Xbox, then hold left trigger to switch over to the chat bar to send it. Keep in mind, nobody will be quite as excited about your gear as you are. The overworld map indicates any bosses or chests that you missed in an area, but definitely don't miss any with this little plus symbol next to them. These bosses are the ones that give you green items that give you permanent bonuses for your character. In this case, I just got 10% permanent resistance to fire. Next, once you reach the Relic altar and can start taking on randomized trials, this roguelite style mode puts a big focus on avoiding damage entirely. Every time you're hit, your honor bar is drained, and if it's fully depleted, the run ends. I recommend taking at least one good mobility, dash, or jump skill in here, because there are many ways you can skip and avoid the traps that are scattered all over these areas. Also, after the room's trial is complete, the traps will shut down, which is a good opportunity to go back and find any chests that you might have missed. Now, before I close this out, here's a really random attention to detail I noticed. Outside of the very first town, you'll find tons of trees being chopped down and stacked for use. Large piles of decaying logs tend to become infested over time with thousands of insects. That's why you'll find little hedgehogs scavenging this area, and pretty much nowhere else in the game. Hedgehogs are naturally attracted to piles of decaying wood, since they become a treasure trove of bugs that they can eat, like earwigs, lice, and centipedes. Yum. Who knew the Path of Exile 2 devs would put in that level of ecosystem detail? Impressive. Alright, hopefully some of that info is helpful during your playthrough, and I'm curious, which class did you guys end up picking on your first go? That's it, thanks for watching today, I'm Alex, and I'm gonna go to bed. Actually, nope, I'm playing more! Okay. I did it. The video is over.